So we're going to talk briefly about running nutrition, and there's a lot of options out there. When it comes down to it, it's about personal preference and also about figuring out what your calorie needs are. So I have a lot of examples here, and this is not even scratching the surface of what is available. But once you find something that works for you, you tend to really keep with it. Now, that being said, you want to have more than one option, because oftentimes in a race, something that works might all of a sudden stop working. So what I mean by that is when you're out for 4 or 5 hours, your stomach might start to turn, you might start to feel nauseous, the temperature might change, and all of a sudden what you used during a training run when the temperature was different, all of a sudden is no longer working. And so you want to have more than one fuel option with you. You also want to have tried everything that you have with you. So I'm just going to show you some options. I have tried almost everything here myself, and either like it or don't like it. So it's really down to personal preference. So I'll tell you what I like, but I will definitely still tell you some other options that I didn't like, because they might work for you. So the first thing to note is how many calories per hour you need to have on you. So typically anywhere from 200 to 300 calories an hour is what you should be carrying with you. And that's going to need to be practiced. So I aim for about the 250 to 300 calorie mark, and 300 calorie mark, especially if the race is longer. If you're doing a half marathon, a shorter distance race, shorter distance relative to an ultra, then you could probably get away with 150 to 200 calories an hour. But I think one of the biggest mistakes that runners make is almost taking it as a challenge of how little can I eat and still run this distance. So to be successful running any kind of distance, when you've really passed the 1.5 to 2 hour mark, it's about how much can I eat and still feel good running. So like not feeling bloated or like you have a sloshy stomach. So let's look at our examples. So my absolute favorite is the liquid goo, and that's because it's really easy to get down. It's liquid, it's not a jelly consistency, and every pack has 100 calories. So if I'm combining this with the calories that are in my water that I prefer from Skratch or Tailwind or BPN, then I can reach that 200 to 300 calories an hour. So for me, I take one of these every 30 minutes, maybe 45 max. I encourage you to go off of time versus miles, unless you're on a really flat course where you can say my pace is consistent. So like if you're running a flat half marathon, you could say every 4 miles, I'm going to take a gel. But if you're in an ultra where there's a lot of elevation change, you really need to go off of time, not off of distance. So that's my favorite. Goo also makes your more traditional gel. All of these kind of in this corner here are using basics, fructose and multidextrone. Let's see. Yes, so we can see it's a very basic ingredient, and they're trying to go a 2-to-1 ratio of glucose to fructose, because that's kind of what science has found works best for endurance sports. So this is a new one I'm trying. It is almost the same as the liquid energy, only it's not flavored, so it's just mildly sweet, and they have added pectin to it to make it a thicker consistency. But I like how you can get, this whole thing has 360 calories, so it's a lot in a small package, whereas I'd have to take 3 of those, but actually like 3.5. But I just wish they did without the pectin, because I like just the liquid. We always have a cat or a dog photobombing the video. The other options here, you can do gummy candies. Skratch makes one, and the thing I like about this one is that it just has sugar, glucose syrup, and raspberry. Whereas when you're looking for candy, I would try to avoid them with high fructose corn syrup. It just takes a little longer to get the energy from that versus just sugar, which when we're running, you want to get that fuel as fast as possible. For me, unfortunately, these give me bad acid reflux. Otherwise, I like them. So I had to, scratch them from my race plan when I did my 100-mile, and I pretty much only took liquid energy. Here are some other options. Some people like the UCAN products because they use a super starch instead of a sugar, so it's a cornstarch mixture. The idea is that you don't have high blood sugar spikes, and as somebody, for me, I need that instant sugar and I don't have any kind of crash from it. So if some people maybe that have blood sugar regulation challenges, they're gonna find the UCAN to be better. Go Gels is another option. They use brown rice sugar syrup to sweeten, and they have apple juice concentrate in them. They have different flavors. I did not care for them very much. They were too strong. I like a more subtle flavor. The lemonade, still my favorite. I don't mind the espresso version of the goo, but I just don't like the texture of these, and that would be the same for these. Honey stingers, I typically is one of my backup to my liquid goo. If I'm feeling kind of hungry, I find that eating something more food-like works well, and the honey stinger is good. The negative to the honey stinger is that when it is cold outside, they are very hard to eat because they kind of get frozen. These also have 140 calories, and again, it's more starchy than the sweetness over here. Other options, we have just fig bars. A lot of runners like to use fig bars. I think that's great, especially in the longer distances. What the downfall is, if you're doing really long races, you're gonna wanna have some foods that are just faster to digest so that you don't have a bloated, gassy stomach, which is what could happen if you go on fig bars for like more than 5 hours. But they have 200 calories per pack, so you can have one fig is equal to one gel calorie-wise. For longer races, and I'm gonna just preface by saying longer than a marathon, so maybe for time 5 to 6 hours or longer, again, you're gonna wanna have more than just carbs in your system. So that is why I like a Snickers bar. It's got sugar, it's got fat, it even has just a tiny bit of protein in it. So for my 100-mile race, every 20 to 30 miles, I had a Snickers. This has 2. So I had a half of one of these. And that's just an easy, like 250 calories. And, you know, sometimes candy is just easy to get down. So then when it comes to liquid, I really want you to aim to have something that's going to meet your, so knowing how much you sweat, how much salt you lose is important. If you happen to be someone who has like salt rings on their shirt, you might need a little bit more electrolytes. So Skratch, one of their scoops of this has 400 milligrams of sodium. That is plenty for me per hour, but for some people, they might even need twice that. I'm not a salty sweater, so it's enough for me, but you could do 2 scoops in a 20-ounce bottle or just 1. Tailwind is similar. It's got a little less electrolytes, but it has more calories. So this whole pack has 200 calories, 50 carbs, and 630 milligrams of sodium. So it has more calories than Skratch, but less electrolytes. But if you're having, let's say, 2 of these in an hour plus a scoop of Skratch, that's going to be 280 calories in 1 hour. Which is getting you into that 200 to 300 calorie range. So there's a lot here to take in, but I think the big thing is that every time you go out for a long run, anything longer than like 75 to 90 minutes, try something, and just get an idea for what you can tolerate and what you like the flavor of, because the longer you're out running, the less you might find yourself liking it. So it's important to have more than one option.